Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner have both received questionnaires from Durham Police in relation to a curry and beer during lockdown. The Guardian report this. Detectives are considering interviewing the Labour leader face-to-face, and the uncertainty around Starmer's continued leadership at the party will continue for weeks. As well as the Labour leader and his deputy, questionnaires have also been sent to other Labour activists police believe were at the gathering in the Durham constituency office. The questionnaires are legal documents. After Starmer and Rayner complete and return them to police, officers will then compare their responses with other information from other sources. Police will assess the veracity of their responses and whether the threshold for a fine is met for Starmer or Rayner. So that's what's going on. You could have a face-to-face interview between the police and Keir Starmer. I would like to see that filmed. I presume it won't be. On the significance of the questionnaires, Paul Brand, who's been covering Partygate very closely, he said this: remember that the Met only issued questionnaires to people it thought had potentially breached COVID rules. It didn't just blanket question everyone at a certain event. Fact Starmer and Rayner have received a questionnaire from Durham Police is a serious concern for Labour. It is a serious concern for Labour, and it's a bigger one for Starmer and Rayner, who have both said they'll resign if they are fined. And it seems clear there are already MPs lining up to replace them, chomping at the bit to have their go at the top job. Wes Streeting is probably the most often mentioned of the contenders. Yesterday, the I paper revealed he's signed a book deal for a memoir to be released next year. Paul Waugh reports the childhood memoir has yet to have a title and is a slow burn, as it won't appear until next year. It will not be about politics or policy directly, but it will recount the Shadow Health Secretary's childhood as the son of a teenage parent on a council estate in London's East End. He's already spoken movingly about being on free school meals, and something that's more topical than ever, the lights going out at home because his mother couldn't afford to feed the electricity meter. Paul Waugh also tweeted this: Wes Streeting's memoir will focus on his childhood growing up on a council estate in Stepney, East London, the son of teenage parents. Wes has said that he was more likely to end up in prison, where both his maternal grandparents spent time, than in Parliament. Now, given there are 85,000 people in prisons in the UK and only 650 people in Parliament, it's not a particularly remarkable claim, but I have no doubt it will be a gripping read. Another contender for the leadership is Lisa Nandy, and she is also writing a book. So of that page turner, Paul Waugh writes, originally intended to set out her thoughts on global affairs when she was Shadow Foreign Secretary, it is now more focused on how Labour should win back the working class votes it has lost. Her book currently lacks a title too. It was going to be called The Tilt, to reflect its theme of tilting back power from London to other parts of Britain, but it will build on her decade of work on the town's agenda, exploring how small towns can be given the chance to create high-skilled, stable jobs. Keir Starmer has also signed a book deal, which means for a party with so little to say, there'll be a lot of ink spilled by the shadow cabinet. Dahlia, I want your take on Starmer's questionnaire and all of these books that everyone in a Labour Party with no policies is finding the time to write.
The Tilt really is a bad name for a book. It's like, that's not, it's like, oh, it means about how she's going to tilt. But it's like, no one if you have to explain it, it's not a good title. And no one gets anything from that other than it's just very, very weird. I'm like, who's your marketer? That's not a good name. Anyway, I mean, I think that this entire thing is a very transparent push in order to create a kind of both sides narrative here. Obviously, the Tories have found themselves in deep hot water that they can't get out of. And so they're like, okay, well, let's just basically make this into they're both as bad as each other narrative, and I'm never really in a rush to defend Keir Starmer, but in this case, it's pretty obvious to me that the Tories have been pushing for this to be a story in order to water down the effect of Partygate. To me, the details of the two are really quite different. One concerns a systemic culture of rule breaking, a systemic culture of contempt for workers. Wine time Fridays, people getting so drunk that they're vomiting, being abusive towards workers. So that is, parties with hundreds of people invited. The other one is a single instance of a curry being ordered and drinks being ordered for people who are working together at a rally. But the headlines are both party leaders are being investigated by the police And as we saw with Labour's really weak performance in the May elections, it seems like it's maybe having a bit of the intended effect of kind of diluting the exceptional pressure that is being put on the Tories. Because, and what's so funny to me about this is that when it comes to Starmer's trustworthiness, there are many far graver violations that can be pointed to that are far more concrete evidence of the fact that he talks through both sides of his mouth, that he is not really to be trusted. You know, like the fact that he essentially lied to the Labour Party membership about his intentions and the programme that he was going to deliver as leader of the party, or the fact that he treated the people who elected him as leader of the Labour Party, he's treated them with utter contempt. The fact that he suspended Corbyn from the Labour Party whilst also welcoming an ex-Tory who believes in criminalising traveller communities. These are all much stronger examples of Starmer's character as a leader and an indication of how he would govern if he became prime minister of this country. This particular scandal, which isn't to me really a scandal, is the least of Starmer's misdeeds. And so for that reason, it's clear to me that it's much more of a political job rather than an actual kind of in any way equivalence between what we are talking about when it comes to what's been happening with the Conservative Party with Boris Johnson's office and, you know, this one event that is being made a lot out of. I think it's quite clear the politics behind this rather than a sincere conversation about Starmer's trustworthiness and whether or not he deserves to be prime minister, which is definitely a conversation I would be up for engaging in, but not on these terms.
All of us here at Novara Media are working harder than ever to keep scrutinising establishment politicians and the media barons who protect them. We don't have billionaire funders. We don't have advertising partnerships. We're funded entirely by you. If you've ever thought about supporting us, now's the time to go to novaramedia.com/support and donate anything you can from just £1 per month. Defy the corporate media. Join our monthly supporters and help build our supporter base to 10,000 strong.